The LA area teachers are doing amazing with Figma, and they're going to share some tips and tricks on how they got started going from had never used Figma before to rapidly doing really advanced stuff with their students. A lot of this is going to be very practical. You're going to hear their tips, tricks, some things that they did with their students to get them going. And so, yeah, without further ado, Patricia's going to start us off, and then you'll hear from Libby as well. But thank you both so much for being here.
Good morning, everyone. How are we? It's so nice to see you. I'm very excited to be here. Give me one moment to full screen. And all right. Here we go. Sorry about that. All right. So I am Patricia Vining. I am the director of the design pathway at Samueli Academy here in Santa Ana, California. Sorry, I don't know. There we go. So a little bit about my background. I have 20 years teaching design at the university level. I was principal and creative director for a strategic communications and design firm that had 4 Fortune 500 companies as clients for over 15 years. And 5 years ago, Samueli Academy offered me the opportunity of a lifetime. So for over 35 years, the Orangewood Foundation has helped foster and community youth in Orange County thrive and prosper. They realized early on that the only way they were going to change the abysmal high school graduation rate for the students that they serve was to build their own high school. So this project has been 20 years in the works because they also conceived of a residence for the students because in the life of a foster youth, they very often are moved by the state. So they get to a school, they acclimate, they feel safe after a year, and then they're moved somewhere else. So we just opened our new residences. So we built Samueli Academy in 2013. This is our 10th year to improve that high school graduation rate. And we are proud to say that we have we're one of the top schools in the nation for graduation rate, for college retention. We have an alumni director that works with our students beyond college. So we're off to a very good start. We are a project-based and work-based learning school. I teach 4 dual enrollment classes that lead to our certificate of design upon graduation. Students are required to either take design or engineering for graduation. And last year, in addition to opening our brand new campus, this school started with 1 portable 10 years ago on a dirt lot. So our campus, as you can see in this photograph here, was finished during the pandemic and sat empty for a year, which was heartbreaking, but quite an amazing feat because it's all based on 10 years of a capital campaign, $75 million, all in donations. So last year we built the Firehouse Design Studio, which is a fully student-run design agency, works for real-life clients in the community. Students interface with the clients, they write the creative briefs, they do the production schedules, and they actually assign projects to the different classes. I teach design 2, 3, and 4. So the theme for this workshop is designers make maps for places that don't yet exist. This is a quote by my favorite industrial designer, Rowena Reed Costello. And I structured this workshop like a journey map. I thought we would go through the UX process as we were doing this. So we'll go through, I'm going to show you exactly how to set up your classroom and get ready for Figma. So we're going to start with the mood board. The mood for this workshop is that design is foundational. It informs, supports, and elevates every industry. So no matter what you teach, teaching design thinking or design content is extremely relevant as far as 21st learning skills go. Our program focuses on global citizenship, teaching our kids about issues like sustainability, accessibility, equity, and diversity and inclusion. These are all extremely important, and that we're not alone in this world, that we have to look out for each other. We teach digital literacy, we teach digital responsibility and the different uses of technology. And finally, innovation and creative thinking are vital in our program. We teach creative and complex problem solving. We teach critical thinking, and systems level design is extremely important. We don't just have our students design a logo or a poster. They design the brand, they design the collateral, the style guide, the collateral, and then they present to their clients. Sorry about that. There we go. So I built a little wireframe, and you can build a wireframe for how or a model for mastering Figma yourself through these 5 steps. So here are the 5 steps to mastering Figma yourself. Got to master it first. 1, playful learning. Okay, sometimes it's really hard to just sit and read a book or look at a video. So I started with playful learning, being curious about Figma. I follow it on LinkedIn, Instagram, not a big Facebook user, but they're all treasure troves of content based on Figma. I found a post about games built in Figma. I didn't even realize you could build a game in Figma a while back. And I was like, spent some time not only playing the games, but then analyzing how they were built. And as I did that, I learned a lot about Figma's tools. Second, personal projects. I planned different projects for my students using Figma. Again, you kind of have to get in there and bang around. Think about something you need for a class assignment and then create it. I created this persona project in FigJam from an existing community template, and I'll tell you more about the community in just a minute, to use in one of my advisory classes as a social emotional learning activity. Number 3, explore the Figma community. Now, the community, you just click on community when you're in Figma, and it is a gold mine of resources. Anything you're looking for, search there first, because there's going to be inspiration, a prototype, a wireframe. It's already built, and you can remix and remaster all you want. So anyone can contribute and publish in the community. So I found this icebreaker. They have these icebreakers in there. And this one, my students absolutely loved, and it got them up and running in Figma, like almost instantly. It's called Rockstar, and it's all about them, of course. And it takes them step by step with instructions from creating a frame and then creating a grid and then adding assets as they go along. And they absolutely love this. And I shared with the Figma staff that my students after this, they wanted to use Figma for everything. And I had to explain to them that some of our clients wanted their files in, Photoshop or Illustrator, or so it was a really great introduction. Number 4, reading blog and the Figma blog and books. So the Figma blog, I subscribe to their email newsletter, and it's also full of all kinds of great tips. But this particular, the one on the left here, was an article about collaboration, which is key. We're a work-based learning and project-based learning school, so it's one of the pinnacles of what we do. We do 6-week, 8-week projects. So collaboration is key, and it's difficult to teach collaboration in high school. It's our most awkward time of our lives. This particular article had a whole section on role clarity, and we were doing a restaurant design project called Eat, Kern, Love. And I designed 5 roles, everything from brand manager to UX designer. And then I wrote the job description, and then I matched the assignments to that job description. And this way the students could choice is so important in the classroom, could choose the role that they were maybe excited by or challenged by, or maybe just wasn't overwhelming for them. Maybe they were having a rough patch, and that was something they could manage. And I have some great books. I'll share some my email at the end, and you can email me, and I'll share a great book that I found recently about Figma. So here we have, again, courses and videos. Sometimes that can be a little bit overwhelming. So I look for courses and videos that aren't too dense. And one I found with this one at the top here on Udemy was affordable on a teacher's salary. And for those of you that maybe have never taught UX design, it goes through the UX design essentials. So it's a really good one for that, as well as teaching you Figma as you go. And then you can move on to YouTube, where there's some free courses. There's a whole series by this gentleman, Jesse Showalter, and he's engaging. And they're short, 30 minutes, and he teaches you a lot in that time frame. So now, once you're up and running, how do you build a prototype in your classroom to engage and onboard your students? So I'm going to give you the five tips that, in the process that I used for onboarding my students. And it was one point here was when I was teaching this to myself, I discovered Figma during the pandemic. And one of the things that I was struggling with was our school. We're a laptop school and we have a virtual desktop. Well, we just got a new Mac lab this year. Yay. We had a virtual desktop and all of our software comes through the virtual desktop. And we learned quickly during the pandemic that the Wi-Fi in Santa Ana was not equitable. So it was a real struggle. So our students, many of our students had to work on their phones from home. So Figma was a web-based application and it was engaging and it was so simple to use. So I was like, oh, okay, I got to find out what this Figma thing is. And it was so easy to get in here and onboard my students. So you go to figma.com/education. You can see here this black button, get verified. You click, you verify yourself as an educational institution. That's the part you do. And again, it's very user friendly. Then I set up my classes by period in my dashboard. And you can send an email or a link to your students, and the instructions for the students to enroll in that class on your dashboard are also very simple. So don't be intimidated by that. UX process. This was the project, my first project that I did with my students during the pandemic. Like I said, as I was flying the airplane, as I was building it and learning FigJam and Figma. But what I realized in hindsight that, because I focused on Figma during the pandemic, but now I know that you can create all of the research pieces and the assets in FigJam. You can see at the top here, they created their personas, the vision board, user flow chart. You can do sketches for icons, style guides, all of that in FigJam. And then so easy to just copy and paste those assets into your Figma app or website as you're designing. And these guys were tasked with designing an app for teens for themselves. They were the persona, and they were to design an app for coping with COVID. And it could be anything from, total escapism to, mental health. It could be about physical health and testing, anything they wanted to do, storytelling. And I was amazed. These were sophomores and they did quite a good job. The next thing is through wireframes, and this is at the micro or student level. We are that proverbial shoemaker without shoes. The firehouse. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Is my time up? Am I? Anyway, I probably need to move along. Let me check. I'm sorry, guys. I get so excited. So here we go. Wireframes. Again, I went to the community, which I love. The community is so important. The community is a place where you can go to discover just about anything. You search anything you need and you will find all sorts of resources that you can remix and remaster, everything from UI kits to UX. And this is the demo I'm going to do for my seniors because we have no website yet in the firehouse. We're in the process of building that. So I pulled this lorem ipsum wireframe from the community And you can see here just a quick popping in student work, the after. So I'm going to show my students how to plug and play. There we go. Okay, real quick. UX project, my students got to work with the creative director of Disney UX, user experience. She's a former student of mine that created watches and apps I'm sorry, she creates watches and apps for children, and my students were tasked with creating a mobile game for a specific age group, of a specific age of child. And you can see here my students presenting. My former student worked with us for several weeks, and they presented their final apps. And then finally, presentation. Vans challenged our students to conduct trend, demographic, and sustainable technology research and come up with a clever brand collab idea. Students then designed a line of shoes, skate decks, as well as the social media campaign. They did an amazing job. This one was based on the video game Valorant. And they presented to 3 executives from Vans and 6 of their interns from the Pencil Academy, a new school that teaches design, streetwear design, footwear design, outdoor wear, that sort of thing, to students of color. If you would like more resources or any information about our program, please contact me at pvining@samueliacademy.org. I'm happy to answer any of your questions, send you anything. I'll share all sorts of information, and that is pvining@Samuel with an I, academy.org. Thank you so much. And I'm going to pass this over to Libby Griffin, who's going to tell you how she got up and running in Figma.
Thank you so much. That was incredibly inspiring. Wonderful.
Thank you so much. And I think I went a little over, and I apologize, but I thank you all for coming.
Thank you. All right, let me share my screen. All right. There, I'm back. Let me just make sure I'm still screen sharing. Good. All right, awesome. So hi, my name is Libby Griffin. I am a CTE instructor at Anaheim High School in Southern California, the city of Anaheim. They were really creative with that naming scheme. My background, I'm a design student, and I have continued to learn about design ever since I graduated college. I guess I wasn't done. I also have a master's in career education technology. And that's what I've been mostly focusing on as an educator. I had 5 years teaching in a private school where I was very fortunate to teach technical theater, so scenic construction, lighting. I did it for high school and junior high, which, let me tell you, giving power tools to junior hires is an experience. I also was very lucky to be able to teach AP Art History, which was an incredible experience. And while I was there, I was the conservatory graphic designer, and I built assets for the program, and I helped students build assets for their student-led productions as well. On the side, of course, I was also still working as a full freelance designer. So I did a lot of work professionally on the side while I was teaching. I have since moved to public education when I moved from Northern California to Southern California, and I'm now in my 2nd year teaching at AHS. I am in the CTE program. My primary focus is on career finance and technology and digital animation this year, and I look forward to teaching graphic design again next year. But it has been an incredible experience transitioning and seeing the difference between private and public. And I really think it's informed a lot of how I approach education for myself, but especially in particular for my students. So I have the great fortune of working at this district that is promoting the 5 C's, and Alicia was very great to bring up the 4 C's. I had not known that my district was so extra that we had an extra one, but the 5 C's that my district likes to promote: communication, critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, and character, are all the components and soft skills that my district is hoping that the teachers will instill in our students, in conjunction with the hard skills, so the 21st century skills that students learn using the technology and getting the skills and the techniques down. So we combine the hard skills of the actual products and the programs that we use in class, and then we match that with the soft skills to create a holistic student, so that when they graduate, they not only can create great work, but they can talk about it eloquently. And so building holistic people moving forward through the skills. And we embed these 5 C's into the projects that we do. And I work in a project-based setting. So we go from one project to the next. And in each one, it's really important that I incorporate all 5 of these components. Students, however, come to school and they are their own person already. They come with stuff and they have personal experience. They have a personal point of view. They come from a rich heritage and culture. They come from a family in certain situations, a very different family than ones that maybe I know, and they have a personal vision. And so all of those kinds of things, even if they're not 100% aware of them, those are concepts and experiences and emotions that those kids come into my classroom having. And it's really important to me to fortify those kinds of characteristics and that understanding of self that they have, so that they can continue to grow and strengthen themselves. So not only am I going to teach you, hopefully, solid 21st century skills, you can use the programs that we're going to use in class, but you will learn the soft skills to communicate and work with others, because as it was mentioned earlier, there's very few times where you're going to work by yourself. So much of design is in groups, teams. Your team connects with another team. It just does not stop. It's collaborative. And then make sure that you're a strong person by yourself and that you know who you are and what you bring to the table, and you don't undervalue yourself. It's a big issue in the industry, I think, with new designers coming out and underselling themselves. They have skills, they have great talent, and do not go out there thinking you cannot compete with that. So I take who they are when they come into my classroom, and I'm trying to give them more, not diminish anything. So when we're designing these programs and these projects, the 2 of the 5 C's that I personally struggle with, based on my experience, I have a hard time building communication within teams. I'm not the greatest at it, and collaboration in those teams. So making sure that everyone knows what they're doing. So those 2 are the ones that I have the most trouble with. And so when I was approached by the district, they introduced me to Figma, and they hosted a kind of educational meeting for us. So I got to kind of see how the program would work. And then, they said, please, introduce this program to your students if you feel comfortable. And from that kind of teaching meeting that we had, I felt very comfortable. And I said, all right, let's build some programs for this. Let's build some projects. And so when I have something new that's coming in, it's key for me to instantly, how am I going to fit communication in? How am I going to fit collaboration in? Because those are the ones I struggle with. Everything else I can do, no problem. Just slide it into the programming, slide it in as they go through the project. Absolutely no issues there. So I always want to start with those 2 right away. So I had about 7 weeks left of the school year. It was the last quarter of school. So I broke it down into 4 projects to kind of get my students up to speed. And then how far can they take this? How far can they go? And how far are they interested in going? So first thing we did was we broke it down into an example. I had to learn how to use Figma in order to be able to teach it. So I went onto YouTube. I found a really cute example that wasn't too complicated, and we did that. Then we took that to a next level. So I've shown you how to do it. What can you do with it? Then we built up to a portfolio, and finally a prototype at the end that took the 15 days, the last big push at the end of the year. And a prototype, in case you don't know, is kind of a sample of how like an application or a website would work. So everything is functional. It's not just a static image. You can click through and work through things so that you could hand it off to someone and say, this is how I expect this will function in the real world. And it is something I would highly encourage you, if you have the ability to get through to that prototyping phase, to try it, because to watch those kids light up when they see their work move back at them, it was so much fun to see the excitement and how many clicks of the mouse there were in my classroom, just flipping back and forth between the 2 things because they couldn't get enough. It was fantastic. So what did I do? I started with the basics. We had 3 quarters of the year before this. We learned about all the basics of art, all the basics of design. They had with other kinds of technology and medium. And so what did you learn there? You learned about line and shape. So that I don't have to teach you anymore. You know that. What do I have to teach you? I have to teach you how to use Figma. So how do you incorporate that, what you know, into what you're learning? So I found, like I said, this really cute YouTube tutorial. Miggy has great tutorials that he posts as well. So highly recommend you check him out. But there's tons of resources out there. And I found this really simple one. So it's just a hamburger menu. And then you click and it becomes the X to get out of the hamburger menu. And you just really simply create these two frames with this image and this image. And then you link them together in prototyping. And it does not take very long. I did the tutorial in one class, they follow along, and then the second class, they just tweaked it and made it the way that they wanted to. They could change the color, they could change the speed, they can change how it moved. But generally, this is all we did was for 2 class periods, we just made sure that everyone got to this stage, and that was plenty of time. There was no issue there. And it was great fun because they'd never done anything like this before. It was a new program, it was a new experience. There was a lot of chatter because they couldn't imagine that something that they had just drawn suddenly was moving. So it was really great fun to do this project with them. So they know how to do this. They know how to link everything now. So what can we do? How can we bring this back into the real world and incorporate just a little bit more communication? So we talked a little bit about branding and how do you represent a company. So I put everybody in groups, 2s and 3s, and you have to create a loading bar for a company to represent their website as if it was processing an order or something to that effect. So you can pick anything they wanted. It did not matter to me. I just wanted to make sure that they had multiple assets that they could show. So a collection of loading bars, as if like an application was loading on your web screen, buffering. And how could all of them function the same, but look different? So this team picked Olive Garden. The first member, she decided to refill her water. This was something that she always wanted it when she was eating out, where she wanted a full glass of water 100% of the time. And so she built these shapes, you know, line shape, really simple, a little bit of color, let's not go wild. And just how does the progress go? Your water fills up, and that's how you show that progress. So she built all these shapes all together, and then she wireframed them together in prototyping. So you've got initial, and then as it loads, the water fills up. Really simple, not complex, but working together in a team to figure out who can do what is appropriate to represent the company, how can you make it prototype together so that it moves and it works the way you want it to. There are a couple of technical things that she was learning about on here. The water used to fly out of the glass, so she had to figure that out. I asked her why the ice wasn't coming up, and she said it's on the rocks, and I did not ask any more questions after that. And so you've got a lot of movement that's happening in here, but you have this as just one person in the team. You also have another team member, and he was very creative, and he decided that he wanted to work with more of the pasta, the food groups. So he did a loading bar where he is stacking the lasagna up and a little garnish at the top. I was so happy about that. Same thing though, it's just showing you the layers and the process over time of how do things change, how do things work. And as I'm using the prototype, all I have to do is click through the slides, and you can change those settings really simply in the program and have it work however you want it to work. For me, I just get more control out of it this way. And they pick the ways that they wanted to do it too. So there's a lot of flexibility in prototyping. It doesn't have to be one way. And that's really fabulous about Figma, is that there's a lot of flexibility in how you work and how you want it to work for yourself versus when you're presenting it to a client, for example. So these 2 team members, they worked on Olive Garden. There were a lot of different other examples. Really fabulous work. A lot of fun too. So they did a little bit of collaboration, but how can you take that collaboration instead of teamwork? You're thinking about working outside your group. So how can you tell a story, and how can you represent whatever it is that you're trying to communicate to others? So our next project, we had them do a personal story through their portfolio. So what kind of colors represent you? What kind of images of work have you done in class that you think really represent you as a designer? How would you like to represent that through your prototyping? So what kind of transitions would you like? What kind of movement would you like? And these are all things that you have to think about as a designer. And when you make it about yourself, you get a little bit of a head start because you don't have to do so much research. So it was it's easier step to take into this next level, is to keep it a little bit personal. So I asked them to do their portfolios. So they came up with their own logos. So again, we go back to logo design and branding, color theory, and use of space. So what kinds of things did Jalen do? Amazing things. We worked a lot with creating different kinds of composted images, working on a magazine cover, infographics, and this one was really cute. She made an Animal Crossing. So how do you change your clothes in Animal Crossing? They made logos for the bottom of their email signatures so that when they sent emails in school, it looked a little bit more professional. I'm not sure that horror characters is my version of professional, but it's personal voice. It's her vision. Working with vectors, working with color stories, all kinds of things. This is her loading bar from Figma, so showing how she was going to have her loading bar work as well. And so how does all the links work and how can you travel through this space? She's really straightforward. You're clicking straight all the way through. And then finally, communicating and collaborating. So what kind of things can you do to tell other people what you're interested in and what your focus is on? So the final project that we have worked on, I asked these questions. So when do you listen most? Because it's definitely not in your class before this one. What is important to you? What is it that you want people to know? Where do you feel empowered? Because empowering yourself to know that you have the answers and you have a vision and it's valid is really important. Why does it matter to be heard? You know, when people aren't listening, why are you frustrated? What is it that you want them to know? And what do you want to make sure that they understand? And who has something to say? You know, just talking for the sake of talking is not necessarily helpful. So how do you know when something is important enough to say and that you know you have the capacity to say it? So I asked them to get into small teams and talk amongst themselves and figure out what is important to you on campus. There's a lot of transitioning happening on our campus, trying to make sure our students feel really heard and that their vision and their understanding is being presented to the school. And so making sure that they can start talking in ways that say, I know what I would like to say and how would I present that to others that's respectful and appropriate and instigates conversation. So our project was to create a prototype of Instagram, so an app that already exists, which meant that they didn't have to design anything particularly, but they did have to practice their vectoring, they did have to practice their spatial relationships to recreate it, making logos, their typography work, so making sure their leading and kerning is good. And then how are you going to make this function? So thinking from the other side of Instagram, how does that function? And they picked Instagram. They said that they liked online social media, and this was going to be the most visually dominant one that they could use to create a message and a story. So the whole class picked this one, and then every team moved forward in their own vision. And we went out and we found pictures on campus. So they went and took pictures themselves and their teams to represent what they wanted to draw attention to. In this one, they particularly were interested in fashion on campus, and that so many people were excited about fashion, but were kind of hesitant to like get really loud with it. And so they were kind of showing you the different options that were available, and they went and took pictures of people's backpacks as a way to start that conversation. So all of this is done through Figma, and then it's all prototyped together, so it's all linked. So it should be incredibly functional. So they got their logo up here, and it was important that they kind of give some information and some background information. But then when you click on any of the images, you can go through and scroll through to see what it is that they're working on, what they're saying, as if it's Instagram. So you have to be able to scroll, was my stipulation, which I'm sure they really enjoyed. But then how far and how creative can you take it? So they created all the icons down here. They made the functional buttons, and then they created hashtags and all kinds of fun information as if it was Instagram. So who's commenting, who's liking, and they've got some really cute comments. And all of them are functioning. So you can come down to this one and scroll up and scroll down, and it all works. It's all just like Instagram. And it's really incredible. And it's not anything to do with that site. It's all totally built on Figma. And absolutely incredible and really cute, going around asking people what they thought and then incorporating, you know, the comments that they said while we were in class. So getting feedback from their peers, working together in their teams, but also working together in a classroom as a whole. And then step further, taking it outside the classroom, getting these pictures from people around campus. Other groups did other work with security cameras. They felt that there were a lot of them. And so they were taking pictures of people with the cameras up in the ceiling to show where they all were and to talk about, you know, why is this one here? Why do we have this one? What are we expecting? There was another team that did exclusively shoes. So what kind of shoes are on campus? The fashion was big, I guess. And just kind of what kind of things do you want to draw attention to and how can you show that to other people? It's really fun to work with them on that one. So when I come back the end of the projects, you know, what can I do better for next year? I think the communication went really well. The collaboration went really well. They worked on critical thinking. They had to solve a lot of technical things that they had to figure out in Figma because it was new to them. And so how do you figure that out? What kind of resources do you have available? And I shared with them all the things I have. I have YouTube, I have the Figma community, which is outstanding. I got a lot of resources from there and would really encourage you to go to that community forums when you have any questions and when you're trying to look for inspiration, because as Patricia had mentioned, there's tons of forms already available that you can just make a copy for yourself and then modify if you see fit. But a lot of it is really plug and play and ready to go. How can they work on their creativity? How can you take what you know and what you understand and elevate it to a next level that's either new and improved or reflects more of your personal style so that you can create something new, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. That's not a great use of time when you're trying to learn sometimes. And then character, how can you be stronger and truer to yourself? And how can you grow with your moral compass as you enter this world where there's an incredible amount of ambiguity? How do you know how to represent yourself? How do you know how to take a situation and make a product that's going to help other people? So bringing all this kind of ideas and soft skills together into these projects was incredibly rewarding to see, watching them grow from excitement of I made a button click to I'm going to represent what I feel strongly about on campus, not only for myself, but I feel comfortable speaking about it in a group setting and sharing it. It has been just an incredible experience, and watching our administrators and fellow teachers come into the classroom and see what the kids are working on and seeing that they are able to communicate, they are able to explain the issues. Sometimes when they're giving a presentation, something doesn't work. How are they going to solve it? How are they going to be able to work with it? And then moving forward in their careers, these are all skills that they're going to be able to take with them, and things that are online, easy to share, easy to show other people. If they run into someone in a movie theater, how can they talk about what the work they're doing and how can they connect with other people? It makes it really easy when everything's online and through a cloud. It was just absolutely incredible process. So I wanted to say thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions or would like any of the kind of resources that I had mentioned through the YouTube videos or any of the work through the community, you can feel free to reach me at griffin_e@auhsd.us. And I would be happy to help anybody out because it is really incredible and it's really easy. It is very quick and the kids get into it really quickly, and the trick is keeping up with them sometimes. So it's really incredible.